So I did not watch the video. I'm not watching any of the videos where they go over the transcripts. I really don't care. It's over. It happened 15 years ago and it's past. But what I'm not understanding is the people that are coming at me with lies that they're saying are on the transcript. Because my memory is not perfect, but the things that they're saying are on the transcripts make absolutely zero sense with the memories that I have. Because they're saying, well, you didn't even leave on your own. He kicked you out and then changed his phone number. That didn't happen. That doesn't even make sense. If he had just killed somebody, why would he kick out the only other person that knew what happened? And if he changed his phone number, how were we able to call him and get him to confess over the phone to what he did? Like, those two things that they say is in the transcripts make no sense. If that's what happened, then he wanted to get caught. If he kicked me out knowing that I was the only other person that knew about the murder, then he wanted to go to prison. That's not my memory. But if that's what the police are saying, then I guess that he really wanted to go to prison. Because what I remember is leaving in the middle of the night, crawling out a window with a bag that I had been packing over the last couple of days and hidden in a closet in another bedroom. He had gotten a dog, Mercy, and the dog was real weak. And it kept coming out and licking my hand and looking at me like it was telling me to leave. Until I finally listened to the dog and left. And then I didn't know what to do because I was afraid. He told me that he had friends and they would find me if I ever left him. That even if I went to the police and I successfully put him in jail, that his friends would find me and I would never make it to a trial. So when I left him, I didn't know what to do. I was afraid that if I went to the police, they wouldn't be able to protect me from his friends who would find me after I left the police. So when I left his house, I went to a gas station that was nearby. And I don't even know how far away it was because it felt like I walked forever. Every single car that passed, I was jumping over into the ditch and trying to hide and fearing that it was him. He had found me. He had woke up. He had come after me. Or it was one of his friends. I made it to the gas station. And I told the ladies at the gas station, I asked them if there was a way that I could call a taxi. And they said no, because we were out there so far in the middle of nowhere that the taxis didn't run out there. And I told them that I had just left an abusive relationship and I didn't know what to do. And I was trying to get to a friend's house. The ladies at the gas station said that they would help me. And they let me sit behind the counter and read a book until one of them get off work. And I sat there and I watched the mirror that faced the door, waiting for him to come in. And every time I heard that door open, I expected it to be him looking for me. Eventually, 6 a.m. finally arrived, and the lady said that she would give me a ride to my friends. I had a friend, and they gave me a ride to her job. And I told my friend what had happened, that he had murdered and buried a woman in the backyard, and that I was scared and I didn't know what to do, and she said call the police. So that's what I did. I called the police, and the police met me there, and they took me to the station, and from there, everything escalated to where it's at now, where he's in prison. But I've got people in my comments saying that he kicked me out and he changed his phone number and he was trying to get away from me. That's not my memory, and it doesn't make sense. Why would he have kicked me out? Knowing I was the only person that knew what he did, why would he kick me out? And if he changed his phone number, how did we call him? Because the police, when I went to the police, they didn't originally believe me. And so they asked me if I could get him to confess to it over the phone. I had a phone on me that was not connected. He had the service stopped, stopped paying for it, so the phone wasn't on. So me and one of the detectives went to a gas station where we bought a phone card for this phone that I had that wasn't activated. And they set up a tape recorder. And they asked me to call him using my phone, so it was my number that was calling. And he answered. So this person that's saying he kicked you out and changed his number, he answered the phone. How could he have changed his number if he answered the phone? How could I have called him from a number that I used to have for him if he had changed his phone? It doesn't make sense. And I don't understand how that is in the transcripts, because it doesn't make any sense. How could he have changed his phone if we called him twice and recorded him twice? Because after the first time I called him, when I called him the first time, he was begging me to come back. And I didn't tell him where I was. I told him that I had gone and I had found a friend to stay with for a couple of days, and that they had turned my phone on and we needed to talk. Because I didn't want him to know that I was with the police. And he cried and he begged me to come back, and he apologized to me, and he told me that he was sorry for beating me, that he was sorry that he had tried to kill me because he had strangled me with a vacuum cleaner cord and told me he was going to end my life at one point. And he apologized for doing these things, to the police. He was apologizing for trying to kill me and for beating me and for everything that had happened. And then he told me that his friends were on their way to his house right that moment, and they were going to move the body, because I had told him that I was freaked out about the fact that there was a body there, that somebody was going to find it. I didn't tell him what I was really feeling and thinking. After the murder, I lied to him so that he would not kill me. And when I was with the police, part of what I was saying when I was on the phone to him was still lies. I still told him that I was going to come back. I told him that I cared about him. I told him that it was going to be okay, that it wasn't completely over. I just needed time. I told him all of these things to keep him talking and to keep him from running and from sending his men to find me. There's probably a lot of things that I said to him that were simply not true when I was with the police. And before I was with the police, because I didn't want him to kill me. I must have told that man I loved him 1,000,000 times after he murdered somebody, just because I did not want him to kill me. But for it to be in the transcript saying that he kicked me out and then changed his number, how is that in the transcript? How is something that inaccurate to what happened in a court document? It doesn't line up with anything. Because I called him and they have the first tape that was not usable. After I called him the first time, they stopped the tape and they said, "Can you do that again? We didn't put enough tape in the recorder." They had only put a minute's worth of tape in the recorder, and I made a 5-minute long phone call or something. And so I did do that again. Almost immediately, they restocked the recorder. I called him again. I got him to confess to everything again. And they should have those confessions on tape. So for them to go to court with those confessions taped that came from his phone calls and then say, oh, but she never called him because his phone, he changed his phone to get away from her. How did he change his phone number if I called him from the police and got those tapes? How did he change his phone number? How? How was his phone number changed? And yet I still called him. I don't understand. And it's not just my schizophrenia that's confusing me. This literally doesn't make sense. I escaped him and then went to the police and we called him. So now they're saying that he changed his phone number after he kicked me out, but we called him. Like, none of this makes sense. And I know that some of my memories don't make sense because I have psychotic episodes and I have things that aren't real that are in my head, but none of this that they're saying is in the court transcripts. That does not make sense at all with what I remember or with what I know.